I've never once encountered that yet. I'm sure the boogeyman white supremacist exists somewhere in America. I've just never met him. Never seen one. Never met one in my life, right? Maybe I'll meet a unicorn sooner. And maybe those exist too.
So, to make the situation more calm, because we do have a lot of people here, it would just be nice if you guys could leave, but we aren't. I can't wait on you guys. I have no idea. I'm not in the situation, but she, just to make it more calm, she said, you guys can come early because we do have a lot of people around, or the police will be on the way, because they are. So.
But why do we have to leave? We just came to order food.
Yeah, of course.
I don't understand. What do we do?
I don't.
That's not right, man.
We were planning on leaving, but we wanted to wait for the police to get here because we wanted her name.
Yeah, she didn't want to give us her name.
Because we want to submit a complaint.
Okay.
She refused to give us her name.
She doesn't have to give her name.
But she works here, right? We waiting for a manager, right?
Okay, yeah.
Do they have a manager on hand?
Did you guys do anything? No, we don't have a manager in today. They're all off because they've been working all week.
If I leave and the police get here, she could just come up and say anything. I try to rob the place.
Did you guys do anything to disturb her or disturb any customers?
When she walked by,
yes.
I said, excuse me, because it seemed like she was,
Well, yeah, it's really busy today.
No, obviously.
Yeah.
So, I said, excuse me, because he's been sitting here for 15 minutes.
Yeah, of course.
So, when she left, she came back with the menus, and she said, well, I don't want to be yelled at.
Yeah.
And I said, I didn't yell at you. I didn't yell at you. I was simply... Can we talk outside real quick? Yo, record this.
I am.
Can we talk outside real quick? All right, just outside here.
It's crazy. They're refusing to serve us. That's crazy. That's crazy. They're refusing to serve us.
You want to talk over here right there? Okay, so what's going on? What's the deal, right? So, we over the road project, whatever.
I'm just going to record. It's fine.
I'm going to go stay the night, shower.
Not going to record your face.
Came into the diner, so
I never been involved in nothing like this before, man. Like I said, we just came to get something to eat. And they're telling us that we can't be served. I've seen stuff like this on YouTube, but I never thought that it would happen to me. I just couldn't believe it. It's crazy, man.
It happened to me last month, believe it or not. I was at this restaurant, they came by, we ordered our drinks and everything, and then the dude just never came back to us. There was a party of 8 that came in, and he took their entire drink orders, and then came back and got their food orders. And then another table came in of 2 other people, and he took their entire drink orders, got their food orders, and just never came back to us.
Did he say why?
No, we just said, hey, we want the bill for our drinks and we're out of here. And we just left. We're not playing this game.
But I don't want to sound like I'm trying to cause a racial thing. Everybody in there is white. And we're the only black people in there, and you're gonna just kick us out like that, and you're telling me that? Come on, I never experienced racism or anything like that before, but she just took our stuff, and I'm just what? You know what I'm saying? We didn't do anything. I'm like, are you serious? We can't order it? No, you're not. You have to go.
it's crazy because you can look in there, and not to make it, we're not trying to play the race card, but we look in there, there ain't nobody else in it that's black but us.
Yeah. And it's serving everybody else. And then, when we asked what's the problem, we're told to get out. Yeah. Basically, come on.
It's hard not to think that,
If it quacks like a duck,
Mm-hmm. I get it.
We over the road. We came and stopped grassing. I don't want to get in trouble out here in South Dakota.
We just want to go our way and go home. Like I said, we came, took a shower, went in here to grab something to eat before we left. Mm-hmm. And This has never happened before in my life. That's crazy, man.
I'm sorry that it happened to you guys, bro.
Appreciate it, man. It's
I just hope that, we could at least, we obviously we're going to get it when we're going to get it. But I just want to follow things or at least allow the things to be.
All right, so you guys are table 52.
okay.
Here's the general or the district manager is how she described it. That's the phone number.
Okay.
You can also, that's going to be the same person, that email right there.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you.
Good.
That's the lady that refuses to serve us.
But wait, there's more.
Denny's is actually extremely racist and problematic. It has an extremely racist and problematic history and present as well. So let's talk about it. So in 1957, the Sambo's chain opened up in Santa Barbara, California, and they were extremely popular because they relied on racist imagery of the Sambo stereotype. Now, they claim that the name did not come from the stereotype itself, but from a combination of the owner's two names, which were Sam and Newell. So, a lie. They then realized that they were able to gain a lot of notoriety and make a lot of money if they were to capitalize off of the Sambo trope and the character that was in the Little Black Sambo movie and book at this point. They catered their marketing to kids because they figured that if the kids could convince their parents to come in and spend their money, that would be the best way to make money. And they were right. By 1976, they were doing over $381 million in sales, which is equivalent to $1.6 billion today. In 1977, they received their first real form of public backlash against the name from the Black community. In November of 1981, they went bankrupt because they did not listen to the public when they demanded that they rename and retarget their audience. And so they went broke because people were boycotting in solidarity with the Black community. By this point, the public was well aware of the racist and problematic elements that surrounded the restaurant, but also Black people continued to be mistreated while they were attending the restaurant. So not only was it racist in ideology and name, but it was racist in practice as well. And so in 1982, Denny's purchased the Sambo's chain. And for a long time, they did not change the name of the locations or the imagery within the locations. So Denny's and Sambo's were running and open simultaneously despite being owned and operated by Denny's. In 1994, Denny's agreed to pay out Black customers over $56 million to settle over 4,000 claims that resulted in lawsuits that they had been discriminated against while at Denny's restaurants. These customers in America specifically, but this was also ongoing in Denny's locations in Canada, they were forced to wait longer times to be seated, even though restaurants were completely empty. They were forced to pay a cover charge. They were forced to prepay for their food. They were called racial slurs by employees, and they were overall just treated very poorly. They were also subject to racial segregation, despite it being outlawed for a long time at this point. Denny's tried to say that they did not have discriminatory policies, but previous managers actually came forth when the lawsuit was filed that they were trained in a discriminatory manner and forced to train their employees in a discriminatory manner. One example of this, Denny's employees were taught that minorities and women, specifically Black people, paid less, tipped less, or didn't pay at all. So it was okay to not serve them, to make them prepay. It was also okay to seat them at dirty tables. They also had a term and a series of practices that they were supposed to carry out if they had too many Black people seated in the restaurant at a single time, and it was called a blackout. After learning about the racist history of Denny's and their current practices, I actually did a full deep dive on my YouTube channel, so that video is now live. So if you want to learn more of the racist past and present actions of Denny's in Canada and America, make sure to go and check that out.
I've never once encountered that yet. I'm sure the boogeyman white supremacist exists somewhere in America. I've just never met him. Never seen one. Never met one in my life, right? Maybe I'll meet a unicorn sooner. And maybe those exist too.
And now, for the moment all you motherfuckers been waiting for. All my flip mode niggas rise and await for the most powerful event to occur. The coming!
So, you saw the clip, right? Two truck drivers went into a Denny's and couldn't get service because they were Black. Okay? Happens all the time. And when I hear them talking to the cops and saying, you hear things like, this never happened to me before and all this shit. I want you guys to know that in our community, that's some performative dialogue for the minority majority. Of course we've experienced this shit. Everyone that looks like us. There's some kind of racial animus in this supposed country. Okay? So a lot of times they're doing that shit because they're setting up for a fucking lawsuit. Okay? And I hope they get a bunch of money and don't coon out and shit. I hope they don't bow to peer pressure from the rest of society and shit and pursue a big ass check and shit. Because, Denny's has in the past paid over $54 million out in lawsuits, filed by thousands of black people and shit because of things like what we saw in the video. All right? So I hope they don't coon out and shit. And I decided to be funny and, tie this video to current presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy. I don't know if I'm saying that right, and I don't really give a shit because he keeps attacking the black community and shit. And he has no fucking argument for anything else like, foreign aid or any economic, issues he hasn't addressed. It's all black people this, black people that and shit, and there's no such thing as fucking racism. Where is your fucking racism? I'm gonna hang this video around your goddamn turkey neck and shit, okay, Mr. Ramaswamy and shit? Alright, so we're gonna start calling this shit the Vivek files, okay? Now I'm gonna put your fucking last name on there, but it'd be too long to type in the title and shit. And people just don't have the attention span to even read the fucking title. I don't think that any great numbers will watch this goddamn video, but I'm gonna put it out anyway because I'm black, right? And I have experienced this shit. I experienced this shit as recently as a few hours ago in a fucking Walmart, shit of all places, right? So, as far as other black people go, we're all over the place politically and socially and shit, as well as economically. We're all over the fucking place and shit. Everybody has a valid argument for why they're where they are and shit. But collectively speaking and shit, if you actually give a fuck, all you have to do is stop patronizing Denny's and any of their subsidiaries. You can go online, go to Google, look up Denny's and see what their holdings are, and don't give those holdings any support whatsoever. I'm pretty sure that the minority majority will figure it out. Those people will figure it out and pass some law or start scrubbing the internet so you can't find out what they own and shit. And, won't patronize. This whole country is built on fucking capitalism and keeping us at the bottom of the barrel and shit. Alright? I'm done talking about it, shit. It's very simple, black people. Don't do business with people who spit in your face. There should not be a shitload after there was $54 million, of lawsuits were paid out shit out of court. It really shouldn't be like Denny should have been in the shitter or just a niche franchise and shit because nobody in their right mind should go in there and have a meal knowing that their policy is to discriminate against black people and shit if you're black, okay? All right, I'm not talking people of color. I'm talking about black people specifically in America and shit. And who gives a fuck whether it had an effect or not? You're just not spending your money there. No racist is getting your money and using it to live their lives and shit in whatever fashion. All right? I'm going to show you the picture of the lady who started all this shit. She is pathetic. She's a fat piece of trash. And I accept her for who she is, okay? Mr. Ramaswamy denies racism. He's an apologist for white supremacy and shit, and this is the legacy, that his rhetoric would beget and shit, okay? All right? Very, very similar to Ron DeSantis and his bullshit. But we're just going to talk about our boy because he is a person of color, technically. Now, in his mind, he is the whitest man on the planet and shit. He's almost glowing. But this woman wouldn't even fucking serve his ass. Alright? And I think that if he was a real man, he would go into that restaurant and sit there at her table and see if she served him. With no cameras, no nothing. Just walk in there and have a seat and see if he get any fucking service. Alright? I'm getting tired of you race deniers, okay? So I put this woman's picture up. It's not a good picture or whatever. I just enlarged it from a TikTok video because I think that we need to know who these people are, okay? Like, we didn't want to be here, if you believe the history and everything. We were stolen You know, our ancestors were stolen and made to build this country, you know, physically and economically and shit, and then shoved into the bottom of it, like the bottom of a garbage can, into modern times. Okay? Now, you people might not like to hear that shit, but, you know, I'm just going to make a point here. You know, if you had done what you were supposed to do back in the day, you had done what you were supposed to do, none of this would be going on. Okay? If we were economically whole, okay, if we had our reparations, I doubt you would see any appreciable numbers of black people in places like this, okay? And we can do that anyway, even without the money and shit. All you have to do is just not go there and eat. But you know, some coon is gonna go in there and have a seat. Some tethers will go in there and bolster their numbers and take pictures with them to be the franchise's, you know, quote unquote black friend. All right? Real simple. Don't go in there. I accept this fat piece of shit's racism, okay? I accept the racism. I would not want to be served by someone that I knew hated me with a passion and shit. You don't know what they're doing to your food. I used to work in restaurants and I saw people do messed up shit with people's food and stuff, okay? And that shit happens today. You know, she could be going back there blowing snot bubbles and doing all kind of shit for your fucking food, you know, putting her box on it or something. You know, you never know. These guys went in there, they were truckers and shit. And, you know, I understand that, you know, you're out in the middle of the sticks and everything, but, you know, I guess you're going to have to invest in like some technology, you know, like put a refrigerator in there and, you know, in your truck and stock it full of food and keep it moving. Go right past this shit. This was South Dakota or Sioux Falls, South Dakota, I think. Yeah, don't take your ass over there. Bypass that shit, man. Bypass that shit. We need to bring back the Green Book they used to have in the 50s. That was a place where you could read the book, the Green Book, and it would tell you the places that you could go that are safe for black people to patronize. We need a new fucking Green Book so that we don't have to see this fat piece of shit and experience her ignorance. Okay? That's the deal. Okay? If you don't want these things to happen, don't take your ass in there. So after this incident, shit, any Negro that's sitting in Denny's having a original omelet or some shit, an original pancake plate and shit, you deserve what you get. You know, somebody got put boogers on your shit or anything. You don't know what these people are doing to your food. This is a very sensitive business and shit with very stern regulations and shit. You know, a little thing called OSHA. Okay? And you would take a chance going into, you know, out in the boonies, you know, over here in South Dakota, was probably not a lot of black people around it. You know, deemed to purchase a meal from somebody that hates your ass, but would still take your money and put it in that fucking register and then use it for their own ends. All right? I say you don't give them a chance. All you have to do is keep it pushing and shit up the road. Don't stop at these places. And I really do think that we need to start making a new fucking Green Book that is, you know, that lists safe places for black people to dine. All right? You know, Mr. Ramaswamy and shit. You know, one day I hope maybe you'll have a nigga moment and shit, to be quite honest. And, you know, maybe you'll wake up a little bit, but I sincerely doubt it. And I would not want to be in your presence. You disgust me more than this piece of shit in this picture that refused to serve two black truckers who simply wanted a bite. Anyway, this is the end of my commentary. If you go into Denny's and you heard this commentary and shit, you can kiss my black ass, okay, Negroes? Alright? And that is all.
But he keeps on forgetting what he wrote down. The whole crowd goes loud. He opens his mouth, but the words won't come out. He's choking out. Everybody's joking now. The clock's run out. Time's up. Over. Plow. Snap back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. Oh, there goes gravity. He's so mad, but he won't give up. He goes back to these notes. He's so mad at these notes. He goes back to 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 this mobile home. Back to the lab and then yo, it's all rhapsody. Better go capture this moment and hope it all catches. Lose yourself in the music.
This message has been paid for by the Dusties. Yes, the niggas you love to hate.